Today I want to take you on a quick creative journey bursting with brilliant color. First things first, we'll be breaking out the iconic orange pail. If you follow my channel, you may have seen me post about this brilliant paper padding I've recently acquired. This is soft, fibrous paper padding from the produce department of my local grocery store. It was headed for the trash, but when I saw that color, I said absolutely not. We're going to experiment with turning this into paper mache pulp and see what we get. I begin by ripping each piece into the smallest scraps my fingers can manage. There's no prescribed size, but the smaller the pieces, the easier this will be to break down into paper mache pulp. Also, you might not think it would matter, but the raw ripped edges you get from hand tearing these pieces breaks down easier than if you were to use scissors to cut them. I only know this because I've tried it myself. Fill your container with just enough water to make blending your paper easy. You'll find out shortly why I say just enough water. Don't go overboard with the water. The best way to tell is that if you're having any kind of difficulty kneading or mixing, add a little bit more water. For breaking your paper down and mixing it with your water, you can use a hand blender, a drill attachment, or my preferred approach, doing it by hand. If you don't have the stamina for hand kneading, but you do have the space and time to boil this pulp, you can do so by placing the paper and water in a pot on the stove and boiling for 30 minutes to an hour to soften the paper. Of course, be sure to let the mixture cool before you attempt to handle it. The paper clay is coming together. I started adding glue here, which is my normal process, but I should have waited till later in the process because the difference between this and regular paper mache is that it takes less to break down regular paper. This is slightly heavier fibrous paper, so it's taking more water to break it down before I can start to turn it into a paper clay. You may be wondering whether the white glue will affect the depth of this beautiful color in this paper. The answer is not at all. With the glue thoroughly blended, you can see that the color has not changed. Just a note, I don't know the origins of this paper or the colorings or dyes it contains, so I'll be taking measures to protect my hands and surfaces from color transfer.
This is beautiful.
Since I don't want my hands dyed indigo, I'm slapping on my rubber gloves and going in for the final round of kneading by hand. Here's where I'm going to have to contend with that excess water. Usually when I make pulp and there's excess water, I simply add more paper and glue to absorb the excess. It's a quick way for me to accumulate more paper clay that's drier and ready to be molded. Also, my usual paper pulp is a mix of different papers, not just one like this where I'm trying to maintain pure color. In this instance, I have a limited amount of this material, and even if I did have more, it will require more water to break it down. And now is the moment I go back on something I said previously.
Dear Diary, today I learned something utterly unimaginable.
I never wring water out of this mixture. I just keep adding paper and glue until it thickens. Yes, I did say that. But now that's not going to work in this case, is it? Because this mixture was so watery, I wouldn't have been able to wring it out by hand if I had wanted to. So I ended up employing several different measures to lessen the water content and make it ready to mold sometime this century. First, I ran it through the microwave for several cycles. Then I let it cool down. Finally, I used paper towel to pat and press some of the remaining excess out of the paper pulp. Once I took those steps, I was finally able to truly wring out this paper mache clay. The mixture was stable enough for me to hold and squeeze without it slipping right through my fingers along with the water I was removing. The moral of the story is never say never. Now that we've settled that, I will be obstinately returning to my practice of absolutely no wringing. As you can see, I'm finally out of the gloves, and for the most part, this paper is not staining my hands. With our paper clay compound sufficiently wrung out, we are finally getting to the point where we can add more glue and get to the fun part of molding the paper mache clay. In case I failed to mention it before, any of the tools or supplies that are seen in this video that are available through Amazon are linked in my storefront in the description below. You might have noticed a funny little QR code pop up in this video. If you got anything out of this video and want to send me a thanks, that would be a great way to do it, or you can use super thanks in the comments, or even become a supporter over on Patreon, because that helps me keep making videos for this channel. You are absolutely not obligated to contribute, but if you choose to do so, it is greatly appreciated. Alternatively, you can also support the channel by hitting the like button, commenting, subscribing, or sharing the video. Any of these ways helps to get the video out to others who may also be interested in this content. I've added more glue, and as you can see, I can now easily hold and knead this clay, and I am ready to create something cool. What would you like to see me make with this paper clay? The possibilities are pretty endless, limited only by our imaginations. I'm thinking I'll make a series of shorts demonstrating whatever I end up making in this clay. I'd love to hear your ideas, so drop them in comments. As always, I appreciate you and thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.